Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the fascinating philosophy of religion to unpack the fundamental forces that shape human cultures and societies. We're going to explore the deep roots of belief, how the human mind tries to make sense of the universe, and why studying this is absolutely vital for our modern world. And just so you know, we're grounding this entire journey directly in the academic rigor of the Indira Gandhi National Open University's philosophy of religion curriculum. This ensures we're building our understanding on some seriously solid research. To navigate a topic this massive, here's our roadmap. We'll start by defining the unseen, examine the primitive sacred, track the evolution of the divine, map out human beliefs, and finally look at religion in our globalized world. Okay, let's jump into Section 1, defining the unseen. What exactly is religion? It's the most fundamental yet complex question imaginable. Our source material acknowledges that while religion is a massive part of our lived reality, pinning down a single all-encompassing definition is notoriously difficult. Is it a psychological feeling, a sociological institution? Because it encompasses so many manifold elements, beliefs, values, rituals, myths, trying to put it into one neat little box is practically impossible. A great place to start making sense of it is the etymology. The word itself comes from the Latin root re ligare, which literally translates to bind fast. I love this because it immediately highlights how religion functions as a societal glue. It emphasizes community, society, and those deeply rooted ties that bring the members of a group together. You can really see this complexity when you look at how different experts approach it. Take anthropologist Sir E.B. Tylor, for example. He saw religion quite simply as the belief in spiritual beings. But then Sir J.G. Fraser comes along and expands on that, arguing it was a propitiation or conciliation of powers superior to man. Basically, Fraser is saying early humans felt they had to appease or negotiate with these superior powers just to control the unpredictable course of nature. Which brings us to Section 2, the primitive sacred, from the unknown to the divine. Look, early humans weren't sitting around throwing out high-level philosophical concepts like transcendence. Instead, their concept of the sacred, the primitive sacred, was defined by these 6 distinct traits. First, it was the forbidden. Think of the concept of a taboo, where the unknown carried a mystic penalty. Second, the mysterious, representing things of a strange, non-normal nature. Third, it was the secret, closely guarded by initiation rites. Fourth, it was the potent, meaning the sacred had real magical efficacy. Fifth, it was the animate, where early gods were anthropomorphic, taking on human-like characteristics. And finally, the ancient, expressed through the deep-rooted traditions of ancestor worship. Moving right along to Section 3, evolving the divine, the march toward higher forms. Human thought didn't just stop at taboos and magic, right? We can actually trace an incredible conceptual evolution of belief over time. We start in early tribal eras with totemism, where groups felt a connection to specific animals. Then we shift to animism, the belief that everything in nature has a soul or spirit. From there, we move into the classical era with polytheism, where those natural powers were personified into multiple gods. And eventually, we reach what are called the higher forms: monotheism, the belief in one supreme god, and monism, the belief in one single underlying reality. Now, as religions evolved into these higher forms, driven by societal and scientific progress, a major shift happened. They began to substitute the old ideas of magic with 2 highly rational elements. First, they introduced complex ethical schemes designed to promote social unity and justice. And second, they developed eschatology. That's a big word, but it just means the study of the ultimate destiny of humanity. So faiths began focusing heavily on the endgame of the human journey. Let's dive into Section 4, mapping human beliefs, decoding the isms. This is essentially a map of how the human mind tries to make sense of the universe, starting with the questioning stances. First up, atheism. That's the outright belief that there is no God of any kind. Then we have agnosticism, which translates to not knowing. It's the stance that we just don't have the capability to affirm or deny God's existence. Next is skepticism, which broadly doubts that humans can have absolute certainty about any abstract reality. And then naturalism, arguing that human existence and morals can be completely explained by nature, no supernatural element required. On the flip side, we have the affirmative approaches. We start with theism. Think of this as the clockmaker god, the idea that God created the universe, wound it up, and then stepped back to let it run on natural laws. Contrast that with theism, which is the belief in a personal God actively involved in governing the universe right now. And finally, pantheism. This literally means God is allism.
Actually, the best way to grasp this is that God and the natural universe are completely identical. Every part of the universe is a piece of the divine whole. All right, Section 5, Religion in Our Globalized World, Why This Matters Today.
So we've covered the history and the philosophical taxonomy, but why is this comparative study an urgent necessity for you and me right now? Well, we live in a highly globalized world. When diverse cultures clash, sheer ignorance about these varied beliefs can rapidly breed fanaticism and prejudice. Understanding these frameworks isn't just academic. It's a practical, real-world tool for mitigating prejudice and promoting a truly integrated way of living in our modern society.
As our source material brilliantly concludes, it becomes absolutely imperative for us to understand and accept plural ways of living and religions across the world. Demystifying these diverse belief systems is really the key to peaceful coexistence. Because once you understand the philosophical why behind what someone believes, the fear and prejudice naturally start to dissolve. So I'll leave you with this final thought to ponder today. We've explored the evolution from primitive taboos all the way to complex monotheism, and mapped out the entire spectrum from atheism to pantheism. As you navigate this complex, interconnected world we live in, where exactly does your own worldview fit into this vast map of human thought? Thank you so much for exploring this explainer with me today. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll see you next time.